couple good ones. And then this preview starts, and I forgot the game. I actually sat forward in my seat because the preview started with, "Hi, my name is Adam." And I went, "And yes, coming soon, He-Man, Masters of the Universe." Jared Leto as Skeletor.
The reboot we didn't know we needed.
The reboot we didn't know we needed until I saw that preview. Idris Elba as Man-at-Arms. Come on.
So my dad one summer took me and maybe I don't know, it was my brother or a friend to go see the original Masters of the Universe in the theater, and it was sold out. And so the next best option my dad decided was The Lost Boys.
How old were you?
Not old enough to watch a vampire movie like that. And I was traumatized, let me tell you.
Now, Lost Boys.
I was probably like
great film.
8 years old, maybe.
Yeah, 8 years old. Way too young for Lost Boys. I mean, Kiefer Sutherland's scary without vampire makeup to an 8-year-old. So,
Casey, I learned something this week. Now, I knew that sports fans in our area are passionate.
yes.
High school sports fans, there's a lot of passion. I did not know how passionate people are about timeouts in JV basketball games.
Yeah, that was like a throwaway conversation we thought we were having, and it has turned out to not be. So before we get into that, I just want to applaud you. So for the folks watching right now, I am on my couch at home, working from home. I've got my dog snoring next to me on the couch. But you, Peter, you are live from the Day Studio at 200 State Street in New London, Connecticut. You put on snow boots, and I heard you had a dog sled, and you found your way into the studio today.
So actually, I slept here since Saturday. I was so excited to do this. I was like, I'm just going to camp out. Got myself a pallet of bread and milk, and have just been camped out here since Saturday night.
Well, I applaud the resolve and the dedication that you have. I will be digging out for the remainder of the day. But, you know, you talk about the timeout thing. I don't know. Do we need to clarify, or do you need to clarify your position on this whole thing?
Well, I mean, it is 100% a me problem. I am not proposing that the CIAC or athletic directors make some sort of rule change to get rid of timeouts in freshman and JV basketball games. I try to operate on a schedule. For our live streams, we try to operate on a schedule. And the thing that everybody on our crew dreads is a freshman game or a JV game going into overtime, because then we start getting all the people watching at home for the 7 o'clock game saying, when's the game's going to start? What's wrong with you guys? So if it were up to me, if I were king of high school basketball, I would 100% wave my magic wand and get rid of timeouts in JV games, or move the JV games to an entirely different day like we do in football. Now, I 100% know that is not realistic. I'm not going to ask athletic directors to try to put on games on multiple days of the week. They're already doing enough hard work getting timers and shot clock operators and ticket takers and concessions and all that. So I am willing to concede to you freshmen and JV basketball fans that you can have your timeouts, but here's the deal I'm going to make. I will withdraw my objection, but you have to agree to stop coaching your kids from the stands and shouting at referees, especially during freshman and JV games. I think the cringiest moment I have seen in a high school basketball gym in the last 10 years was one of the like 14 parents in the stands at a freshman game, just standing up and berating the referee in a like dead quiet gym. Like, let him play the game.
All right. So two things there. Number one, I am in complete agreement with you that it's frustrating when these games go late and we have to start our games late. But what you speak to is an epidemic that I don't know if it started in COVID or not. So in a gym full of 8 people where you can hear every single person's voice, there was a time where if you had shouted and everyone could hear you clearly, you would have been mortified. And now it is like an invitation. Oh, well, now I know I'm going to be heard. And this is in the same context, I think, as people who have put their phones on speaker as they're walking and having the conversation on their phone out loud, or FaceTiming with no headphones, like on an airplane or right next to you. In like, I don't understand. I guess there is no more sense of decorum or privacy, or like we just kind of shout what we want when we want in the moment now. So
we're getting the shout from the chat. Just get to the rankings already. So let's just get to the rankings already.
See, when you say that, it makes me want to go on a longer tangent, but I won't. I won't do that. We're going to go 1 to 10 today because I think there's not as much drama in who is number one this week after their performance at New London. And we could spend an entire broadcast on just that game, really unpacking what we saw. But Fitch did exactly what it has done pretty much all year, which is find a way to overcome the adversity that it had. And I thought overall put on a very good performance and beat New London at New London. So that, solidifies them in the one spot. What was your biggest takeaway from that game?
My biggest takeaway from the game has nothing to do with either of the teams. There was a moment with about 4 minutes left in that game where all of a sudden the gym woke up and like remembered what it was like to be at a high school basketball game. So while I don't need you screaming at the referees during the freshman game, like during an exciting varsity game, like, yes, let's stand up and cheer on these teams. Like, the gym woke up, it got loud, it got exciting, and I was like, this is what we've been missing for a couple years.
So you're spot on with that. I have been at games in that gym going back into the early 80s. Harold Presley, when he was at St. Bernard, where the games were sold out at 4:00. And I don't know that you could say there's ever been one louder. Like, it was loud. It was really well done. I was happy about it. So much in that game, right? You could break down the coaches, you could break down the players, you could break down the adversity that each had to overcome. I thought Dave Cornish's outfit was so fabulous because it was almost a tongue-in-cheek nod to the series, to the kind of big game vibe that game day brings. And he was, and I've seen people like, well, you better win if you dress like that. That who cares? That was an acknowledging of a moment. I loved it. Kareem Brown keeping Xavier good in the game when he had 2 fouls, going to the zone defense. Dave Cornish employing a triangle and 2 to help his team get back in it. The big moments from bench players like Keandre Dixon and Ipasa for New London and DeDios. And, both teams went on runs, went back and forth. And no matter how we got there, we looked up with 10 seconds left and we were in a 1-possession game. So I think we'll expect that in the rematch as well.
Yeah. So so ignoring division placements and who one might have to face, did Fitch look like a team that can challenge for a state championship?
Oh, man. Division II is loaded, but here's what I will say. Hillhouse we would have said Hillhouse is a Division II threat, right? And New London beat Hillhouse. And I'm not a transitive property guy, but the point is clearly Fitch and New London are comparable teams. So I don't see any reason to think that Fitch and Hillhouse aren't comparable teams. Right now, it's hard to say that anybody can beat Windsor, undefeated in Division Two, but could Fitch be in a state championship game? Yes, I think they absolutely could be.
And I feel like, so again, ignoring division placement, I'm not going to go down the road of like, could New London beat Notre Dame? I felt like New London looked like a state champion caliber team.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Coming back off an injury as well, losing a key starter in the middle of a game and being able to overcome that. New London's playing very good basketball. I think if you look at, Fitch is going to have their next big test right away tomorrow night, NFA, whereas New London has St. Bernard and Waterford. Not that they can't lose a game to anybody, but those are games that should help them figure out their new rotation that they're going to need with a starter down. So Fitch is clearly 1. New London is clearly 2 in my mind. I think I had been someone kind of wanted me to put Old Lyme ahead of New London because Fitch and Old Lyme were super close, and so they were saying, well, couldn't you put Old Lyme on the same footing as New London? Ultimately, Old Lyme has a chance with who they play Friday to do that. And we'll talk about it as we go down. But right now, I don't think you can argue that Fitch and New London are the two best teams locally, or certainly are playing like the two best teams locally. And I'm confident with them at 1 and 2.
All right. So then are we keeping Old Lyme at 3?
Yeah, if I wasn't going to move him to 2, I have to keep him at 3. Old Lyme has a game coming up on the 30th with Cromwell. Cromwell's undefeated. If Old Lyme can win that game, then we can have a conversation about moving them up and maybe even supplanting. So, New London off of a St. Bernard Waterford week. If Old Lyme goes out and beats Cromwell, we might have a fun discussion over, does Old Lyme jump New London under those circumstances? If we're giving New London credit for their big win, you'd certainly have to give Old Lyme credit for a win over an undefeated Cromwell team. So that'll be fun. But Old Lyme has to take care of business first and go do their thing. And I think the team right on their heels at number 4 will be looking at that Cromwell game too, because I think Griswold, who I think we both agree would come in at number 4, Griswold has 2 games. They've already beaten, obviously, Old Lyme, but they're going to look at that Old Lyme. If Old Lyme can lose, they lost to Old Lyme. So if Old Lyme can lose a game and Griswold could beat Grasso Tech live on game day on Thursday, then all of a sudden Griswold will be clamoring to leapfrog Old Lyme. So this is a good week for the local teams playing each other.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I feel like we say that every week, and then every week it is not as definitive as we want it to be. Like someone loses a game that you didn't expect them to win. Someone else wins the games that they should, but maybe by not quite as big a margin as you would expect, and then we end up not changing much. So are we changing much in the middle of this pack here?
Well, I am. I'm gonna make a bold statement. I think we're in agreement through 4, and I think the team that you and I would normally put at 5 would be Stonington. 9-3 overtime loss to Griswold. I'm gonna say yes to them at 5, and then I'm gonna give you a caveat afterwards. But I want to hear your thoughts on Stonington at 5.
I have not. I guess I haven't seen a reason to drop them down or to move another team up yet.
I agree, and so here comes the team that I want to see put in the 6th spot. And I know that you have them a little lower than the 6th spot. But the team on the rise is the NFA Wildcats. Winners of 4 straight. They're now back to 500. And this week, when we do this next week, we will have the ability to really pinpoint where NFA belongs, because they go Fitch, East Lyme, Griswold. So in theory, NFA could beat the number 1 and number 4 teams in the power rankings. And if they do that and end up at 8 and 5 going in at the end, then they've kind of fulfilled exactly what we talked about putting themselves in the conversation as one of the three best teams.
All right, so I'm going to allow you to put them in at number 6 this week while saying I don't agree. I don't think they've earned it yet. Grasso can only play who's on their schedule, and they've won most of the games that they need to win. They're going to be challenged. This is the week coming up that is going to tell us who is Grasso. They're probably getting on the bus right now to head out to Shepog for tomorrow night. And I guess with all the weather, that Tuesday night games are not guaranteed. So
they're not guaranteed. And I'm not entirely sure that Shepog wasn't completely buried in snow. I don't know for a fact that, I'm only being slightly, hyperbolic. Like it might take 2 days for some of these small towns to, clear themselves and get their roadways enough to where they have school. It's not about, whether or not they could host, but like small towns have back roads. Kids need to get to school. School can get canceled. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Grasso with Shepog and Griswold will answer the question. So I bumped Grasso to the 7 spot with that caveat that this week is going to determine what NFA is and what Grasso is. And I think if Grasso could find a way to win against Shepog and Griswold, they make the case of getting up as high as 4. It's like that's what this is about. So I'm going to start. I'm putting in a little leap of faith on NFA. I think winners of 4 straight. No one's playing better than they are right now. And if you look at who their losses were against, they were against the best teams out there. So there is no loss on NFA's schedule that you can point to and go, yeah. They're all outstanding. So I feel like the middle. I feel very good about 1, 2, 3, 4. I feel like 5, 6, and 7 are kind of we could go in any direction with, and then 8, 9, and 10. I think we are in pretty much of an agreement. Wyndham Tech is very interesting, right? They're 9 and 3. I feel like looking at their schedule, they have what I would consider to be a winnable schedule down the stretch. So there's a chance that we're going to have to make the choice of where we put a Wyndham Tech. They could be 13, 14, and 3, and we're going to have to figure out where they belong.
Yeah, so again, right? They can only play the schedule that they're given, and so we're going to have to decide down the road, what do we do? If we're talking about a 3-loss Division 4, Division 5 team versus a 3-loss, 2-loss Division 2, Division 1 team, that one's easy. But if we're going to have to start making comparisons about teams with 2, 3 losses playing in a lower division and a team with 5, 6 or more losses playing in D2, D1. I guess that's what makes this fun, I guess.
It does. And it's we got a really nice email over the past week from a couple different people who have sort of said, thank you for what you guys do. We know that, it's impossible. It's impossible each week to kind of figure out where everyone belongs. I make a point. I try really hard to make sure the small schools get some love. And in this case, it would be the tech schools and the small schools, right? I want to make sure that we don't just dismiss Old Lyme, Grasso, or Wyndham Tech. That we don't just dismiss these schools because they're either tech schools or smaller schools. And we can't just say, hey, NFA, you're playing the best of the best. You must be number 3. But I think right now is when we're in the murk. 3 losses versus 5 losses. What does that really mean in the schedule? So I just hope these teams hurry up and figure it out for us. 9 and 10. I think we agree that Killingly belongs in the 9 spot by virtue of the best of the records of those schools. And let's not forget, they are playing in Division 2 in the ECC. So if you still think of Killingly as a small school or small division, they're not. They're playing in Division 2 of the ECC. So they're playing bigger schools, including their play-up games into Division 1, which is where most of their losses, 3 of their losses, have come from. If I'm not mistaken, Killingly's losses are to New London, NFA, Fitch, and Griswold, which would be four of our top teams in the conference.
Yeah, so they continue to be a team, not on the bubble of the power rankings, but on the bubble of the top half, where they've challenged some teams. They have it. They are capable of beating some of the teams above them. They just haven't done it consistently yet.
So as we head down the stretch to number 10, we always like to look at teams that didn't make it. And we've had a lot of teams in the mix. Some teams like Montville struggling a little bit right now. Waterford and East Lyme. Anyone notice East Lyme's playing better? Their games are becoming much more competitive, and they have an outstanding player in Mangual. Waterford, Parker is a dynamic player. Gallerini starting to shoot it better. Like Waterford could they could play a spoiler, team down the stretch. And then you've got some teams that I think just have players that are really interesting. Putnam's TJ Espinoza is what an incredible young talent he is. And while Putnam at 7-5 probably can't crack the power rankings right now, they are definitely a team that I'm looking at, because Espinoza gives them a chance every night, at least, if not to win, for something pretty spectacular. And then Bacon Academy, right at 500, they probably should have beaten Putnam. And they lost a heartbreaker when Putnam hit a 3 at the buzzer. And I gotta give a little love to Troy Johnson, 27 the other night in a career high. Troy Johnson's going to graduate from Bacon Academy as one of the all-time most decorated athletes. I believe a 4-year letter winner in soccer, lacrosse, and basketball, all conference in, if not all three, two of them, all state. And right now, Bacon's in a transition period, and he's out there, trying to kind of hold the fort down together. So there are some fun individual players on teams that are trying to get it together. And, we still have a lot of basketball left. So can a Montville or a Putnam or a Bacon Academy, or, can one of them make a run and kind of get themselves into that 10 spot? We'll see. But right now, I think the team that has continued to fly under the radar all year for us, we've mentioned them, but sitting at number 10, I think Woodstock Academy has earned that spot.
Yeah, and it's the if you want to call it quality win metric, right? Putnam with a little bit of a better record, 7 wins for Putnam, 6 wins for Woodstock. But Woodstock has beaten a few more teams with competitive records. And yeah, that's what I've been hearing around the league, that don't sleep on Woodstock. They are they're a team that's going to come out and have some success.
What about some of those other teams that are lingering outside of the countdown, teams that you've either seen or heard about or had grumblings about?
Ellis Tech at 5-4, Parish Hill at 5-3. Again, similar to Putnam, those teams haven't had that signature win against a strong team. There's unfortunately in our area there are a bunch of teams that have gone that are 0-10 right now, or have 1 win on the season, and so this is tough, and I think we face this a little bit more on the girls' side as well. We'll talk about tomorrow, but it's hard to look at a team with a record just over 500 and see that most of the teams that they've beaten have 0 wins or 1 win. Not to take anything away from what those teams have achieved, I don't feel like that's a resume that puts them into the top 10, given some of the strong performers we've got in our area.
Yeah, and we've been looking at the Division I and the Division II ECC tournaments, trying to make some sense of where teams are going to land. And, everyone wants to see Fitch New London Part 2, and then they want to see, Fitch New London in the final, or Fitch NFA in the final, or New London NFA. Like, those 3 are the most talked about, but everyone's been trying to find, who's that 4th team that might be able to make it interesting. And maybe it is Woodstock Academy. Maybe it is. I don't think Killingly has exactly enough to play spoiler like that, but they're certainly capable. So I'm working, just trying to find who that fourth team is. And on the Division II side, I mean, I'm trying to find anybody who can make a case that it's not a Griswold Stonington final. And these things never work out that way. Somebody's gonna throw a monkey wrench into the mix, but it's hard watching Griswold and Stonington. And when I asked Coach Molesky, like, who's going to be your biggest hiccup? And he was like, we're so locked in right now. These kids, there's no one's going to beat us because we overlooked them. And he's like, we might lose a game. That can happen. Teams can beat us. He's like, but it's not going to be because we didn't take somebody seriously or looked ahead. I think that's the case with all these teams now. They're starting to lock in, and January is a long month. As we turn the table, turn the corner into February, now you're looking at the end, the stretch run. So that should be interesting.
So I guess happy snow day.
For some of us,
have fun cleaning out your driveway.
It's going to be a while. I may or may not be in traction when it's all done, even with the snowblower. For you, are you going to go back to your man cave at the day offices, or?
I mean, I'm trying to decide. I think 3 nights here might be too many. I have run out of bread, so I think I'm gonna have to retreat back home. I'm gonna check and make sure that the teenage boy has completed shoveling the driveway before I'm asked to help.
Child labor, we do love it in the appropriate circumstances. So. Tomorrow, girls' power rankings. Wednesday, Mike DeMoro and I will have our weekly We Have Issues, and we will even tease it tomorrow because Wednesday, Mike and I are going to tackle a very specific subject to the ECC. In the meantime, as Peter has always said, if you don't like our top 10, send us yours. Let us know what we got wrong by being specific and giving us your own ideas about it. Your own top 10 would be great.